Good morning, everyone. This is one of the important topic for the transplant aspect, that is 6 months abstinence rule. But that outside I want to say this is the structure of this academic program. We are not able to know a single topic. There is no debate or what is yes or no. So hence lot of things may be repetitions because same topic, two speakers. So I don't know how to proceed. And I will request my substitute speaker Neha to skip if there is any repetitions so that we'll get a clarity. Alcohol and liver. So, as we know, the burden of the globe is increasing, both compensated cirrhosis, decompensated cirrhosis, and the death, both because of the liver as such as well as for the SCC worldwide. And if we consider this number, about 5 to 8.6 are getting at any point have alcohol use disorders, of which a major chunk will have a alcoholic hepatitis 2. Hence, we are going to discuss. So, what happens? The alcohol use is increasing, obesity is increasing, and as we expect, this is AUD is also increasing over the time. Cirrhosis, decompensation, acute decompensation, and SCC due to alcohol also will increase with this. This will lead to alcoholic hepatitis, which is mostly dependent severity, underlying liver disease, and associated illness. So what will make it? It will constitute about at this date 21% of compensated cirrhosis and 30% of the SACs. And this number of cirrhosis due to alcohol is increasing steadily from 13 to 23, 6 millions and 1.1 million of compensated to nearly 2.5 times. So the challenge one is alcohol and associated illness. How to address alcoholic hepatitis, ALD with sober drinking in a decompensated cirrhosis, and AUD in a patient who otherwise need ALD. So hence we are gathering today for a protocol care, which is the unmet need for the era. So before going there, I just to say this is the therapy baskets. You can see the most treatment is not complete. You can say MNT is the treatment which cover response nearly in a half. Corticosteroid response is up to 50% maximum. However, it is selected group, and most of the studies shows the survival is less than, benefit is only up to 1 month. Liver transplant is a definitive therapy is compared to other indications, and over time success is increasing, but we are struggling 6 months abstinence. During this period, we thought of rescue therapies, bridging therapies, experimental therapies, which is still in the nascent phase. Hence, this necessitates transplant as a definite therapy to be considered. But when consumed steroids, at the beginning 25% may have infection, another develop infections in a median of 14 days, and mortality is mostly in 1 to 3 months. So survival benefit is because of steroid led to improvement of the liver failure, whereas long-term mortality is because of the infection or non-resolution sepsis. So what we saw in ASEAN scenario, this is a person who comes with alcohol, the mortality is going because of recent alcohol intake in this way. You can see alcoholic hepatitis is 16%, but this data is very less, 62 cases only. But with presence of only SCLF with ascites, without HE, or in overall cohort, there is a transitional rise in mortality, and this is with presence of ascites, hepatic encephalopathy, or HE with ascites, the mortality is increasing. So this is a small study, but in Indian scenario where they shown the alcoholic hepatitis patients of India are different. Ascites is present nearly 83%, hepatic encephalopathy nearly 40%, and steroid therapy is only possible in 12% only. That is the biggest of irony, and the mortality is close to half. And predictors of outcome are ascites, which is present mostly, hepatic encephalopathy, which is half. Bilirubin is a major parameters, low albumin, high creat, high iron, and low potassium. And the MELD score is a definite predictor for the Indian group of the patients. So I can say not say alcoholic hepatitis in India are mostly severe, and majority of them are present as ACL rather than plain alcoholic hepatitis. So challenge is Indian and Asian patients who are sick, often the steroid response is less, infection risk is high, LDLT needs in a majority, and to consider them as not to be transplanted needs to balance with an emotional point, because like other countries, emotional support is strong as far as the India RSA is concerned. Hence, here treatment needs ethical consideration. So, what is abstinence rule? This is the first guideline of 2010. The 6 months period of abstinence is required to develop or put into a waiting list. The justification for is that it allows time for the liver to recover. It shows the behavior of the patient towards a committed abstinence. But however, we need a balance of giving a stigma of self-inflicted disease in relation to balance with the liver failure, so which is to be considered. So hence, can we wait for 6 months for a patient with a liver failure with high short-term mortalities? So how the short-term mortality and how the 6 months are done, I want to just highlight. This is a simple study. They have shown that those patients treated with steroids or those not treated with steroids, if a DF score is more than 54, the mortality is close to 1/4. However, the latter studies also come up having a high mortality. Similarly, this is an interesting study. This is recently published from USA, where they have given all the treatments. So those are transplanted, the survival long term is good. Those has recovered despite 34 cases at the baseline, at you can say in the 1 year long around half may not able to survive, and no transplant, those not improving over time. Here they have defined the time is 1 month and the MELD score is more than 25. If a alcoholic patient more than 25 is not able to be transplanted and is not showing any recovery from day 1 to 1 month, none of them are able to survive in a year. So this is a food for thought for our patients also. So various scores has come up. I just don't want to go. I just want to say this scores has been the time based, that is day 4 and day 7 to take a decision, not at the 6 months. Similarly, being a majority of ACLR, from the ARC we have shown that also these are the patients, if they have considered to be ACLR, where nearly 50% is alcohol, the 7 days mortality is close to 23%, and by 1 month around 43% are dying. So in this group of patients, if we also think of transplant beyond 7 days is difficult in half. If we consider them to be considered, the mortality is going up. Similarly, the another score we have for the ACLR, that is R, we show that at the baseline, if score is 5 to 6, 7 to 9 or 10 to 15, the mortality is steeply rising and high. And this timeline, as you can see, the mortality is nearly 55 for ACLR in first 15 days. Hence, we need a decision how to proceed this group of the patients. Hence, the time frame for transplant decisions is considering the alcoholic hepatitis ACLR as a seeker group, largely to be steroid non-responder, narrow window, it is less than 1 month. Recovery, those who recovered, already they recovered by 6 months. Hence, transplant decision at 6 months has less relevance at this time, particularly in presence of poor evidence and poor rationale. So 6 months abstinence rule is debatable in subsequent slides too. So what I can say, the transplant community, as far as indications is there, you can see that is the major chunk is hepatitis C. After advent of DA, it is going down. Alcohol and NAS are going up. And during waiting list, about 25% one-fourth having some point of drink in relation to the transplant timing. Same is also European cohort, where the transplant related to alcohol is increasing over the time. Hence, the study has taken some protocol-based treatments. Here, this is the ERA-based, where they have shown the transplant is for the alcoholic hepatitis is gradually increasing even USA despite having cadaver predominant, and that is only after a landmark study of having early transplant, not considering for the 6 months abstinence. This is also a similar thing in Europe too. So we think liver transplant should be take into discussion about abstinence rule, recidivism, donor, in donor equipoise in a lifetime setting, and availability and affordability in our centers. But it is a life-saving, equivalent outcome, and recidivism is less than 1/4. Hence, if you consider the transplant who has taken alcohol, the survival of the transplanted liver for alcohol is among the highest for all indication of transplant. Only 1/4 has goes to drink in 5 years. Few groups has shown that up to 1/4 develop cirrhosis in a period of 5 years, and nearly 2/3 of these individuals died once they develop cirrhosis in a period of 1 to 1 years. So this is also interesting that if a person of post-transplant gone into alcohol intake, their lifespan is different, natural course is different than a person who have a cirrhosis is taking alcohol for otherwise before the transplant. So the recidivism, before that I want to say, if a person has been taken for transplant, being an alcoholic, not having abstinence, patient survival, graft survival, as well as recidivism is nearly comparable to those who has been taken 6 months of abstinence and has been compared for the long-term outcome. Similarly, if you consider the pilot study, they have shown those persons who have been taken 6 months of abstinence, and this is the pilot study with abstinence, and this is without abstinence, and this is with abstinence. And here we can see only parameter coming is the high MELD and the age group, and age here cutoff is coming 50. So not the abstinence is required, it is the AUD severity and alcohol intake, AUD severe and MELD under listing. So these factors are coming up. Then this is another large spectroscopy data from the USA cohorts, where they have shown that they have taken transplant in median period of abstinence of only 55 days. These patients are quite sick with a MELD of 39. Steroid is received in only 54 of the persons. The recidivism at 1 year is 10%, and at 3 years it is 17%. Hence, we should think of transplant or no, but even in US also with a high MELD, more than 50% not, around 50% is not able to get the steroid. If they are not able to get the steroid, then how to go for treatment? That is also need to be considered when thinking of the abstinence or recidivism. So these are the various studies has come up. This is a busy slide, but I want to show most of the times the associated psychiatric illness is taking a major jump for the risk factors. Most of the studies, in addition to the parameters we are discussing, if they are having any added risk of any neuropsychiatric illness, that is a major cause for recidivism rather than the abstinence itself. So those who take alcohols, you can see there's 4 patterns. Those are completely abstinence. Those having non-heavy drinking. Non-heavy drinking is considered as once or twice and less than 40 grams per month. And non-heavy drinking is at least 4 times a week. And those having a heavy drink. So this leads to the gradually poor survival. So no abstinence is desired. If there is occasional intake also, the graft survival is equivalent to the okay. And this is also same the Kaplan-Meier curve showing the long-term survival if they are taking alcohol post-transplants. So with this, as per the current guidelines, EASL has come up that the transplant for a alcohol-related liver cirrhosis is mainly on decompensated cirrhosis, child C, MELD more than 21. The candidate selection for transplant in alcoholic cirrhosis should not be solely based on a fixed interval of abstinence. May be considered carefully. The most importance is given to the psychosocial profile. However, these recommendations are on the poor evidence, just showing the exploratory nature, that is we in the early stage of understanding how to best apply this to transplant patients. Many questions to be answered. Similarly, ASLD we have discussed before 2010, and they have come with a Dallas guidelines. The selection of the patients should not be based on 6 months criteria. The duration of abstinence listings should depend on the degree of liver insufficiency selected patients. But most important is the addiction and psychological profile and the supportive relatives. And has been taken a good evidence and grade of recommendations too. But important one to highlight that it is suggested that the transplant waiting also should be checked for the relapse of alcohol intake by clinical interviews. However, suggestion is for the biomarkers, which is a lesson not recommended but suggested. So, how to stratify the risk for alcohol intake before going to the transplant? So few models has come up. This is a SALT score. We have taken parameters of 10 drinks at initial hospitalization, multiple prior rehab attempts. So these are the points of 11 points. If 5 or more, they are likely to be relapsing. Here they are not denied for the alcohol to be transplanted, but they need aggressive counseling. Similarly, another is Hopkins. There is a battery of questions. If none is there, then likely to be having high. Then another is high risk alcohol relapse score. They have taken duration of habit drinking, daily number of drinks, number of repeated attempts. So simple questions. However, this is able to tell about the post-transplant risk of recidivity. So this, I think, the SALT score and SRAR score, this can be used routinely in our patients also. And this is what is the score. The SALT, which is a simple one, can be done by a psychologist in the counseling room. And this is what suggestions, and this year Nature also suggested that all the patients who have been transplant evaluated, transplant waiting or post-transplant should be considered for the possible biomarkers like questionnaires and clinical interviews, liver function markers we do often, breath sample, alcohol level in saliva, serum level, CDT, ETG and ETS what we are doing now. Hair testing is little difficult, but is very specific marker for the long-term alcohol use. But I think this we can think of. And this is important is phosphatidylethanol. Phosphatidylethanol. This is also as considered to be good marker, very specific. But these are the very specific two, hair and phosphatidylethanol. This we need to think of. And the futuristic is a transdermal sensor. It allows continuously monitor, but this is not for the patients, it is particularly those having severe AUD. So these are the things where we can consider, these are the biomarkers if we can consider that can help in our treatment decisions considering multifactorials. So selection for the transplant, it needs a team approach, which is a nurse and the resident or fellow, addiction specialist, hepatologist and surgeon. And this is a French protocol when before they have started the transplant, those on the waiting list. So this is what I am telling the suggestions by this last year come in the hepatology from the Dallas group supported by the ASLD. The criteria in relation to AUD is that for any relapse assessment we need a social worker, an addiction specialist in addition to the treatment partners we have. Then we need to have a patient should be coherent and needs to be clearly evaluated by the addiction specialist. Need to go through the history of repeated unsuccessful attempts, lack of other concurrent substance use or dependency, and whether the person is able to accept the ALD diagnosis, is committed for the lifelong maintaining soberness and having a good family support also. So these are the, we can see for a transplant evaluation for a alcoholic liver disease or alcoholic hepatitis, the most of the criteria is coming into the psychological profile rather than the medical profile. Then we need first or foremost that it should be a robust post-mortem monitoring protocol for alcohol slips or relapses in post-entry clinics by direct or indirect assessment. If possible, routine monitoring for the alcohol use, like what the most specific is phosphatidylethanol or urinary ETG, and this for 2 years. And this frequency they have not suggested, but I think best will be whenever we are coming this patient for follow-up, we can check if required to go for. The center should have a transparency in the candidate selection process. Some we are allowing that we should go for transplant, some are denying he is taking. So that is needs to be transparent by the board. Ongoing support to the afternoons program with a robust clinic is needed, which we have already started, and we need an oversight program to monitor them, follow them, and we will touch them so that this would not relapse into the drinking behaviors. So with this, my suggestion is that if it is index or no. If it is index and we have failed medical therapy, and or those having expected failure, because this guideline already we have published that male more than 30 should be considered for the status for the transplant. Then we need a multidisciplinary approach, which is hepatology surgeon, psychiatrist, social activists as suggested, and family member to be part of the team for taking the decisions if it is feasible or no. Sorry, this is wrongly I have tried. This is no, but this group how to go for. If he is having found in the maternity team that is risk, but the factors are not supportive for that. It's like a medical euthanasia, whether it is to be done or not, that needs to debate. I think Nihar will clarify on this aspect because we have elderly setting. If it's no, we have to go for the transplant. We need regular psychologist follow-up in addition to the transplant clinic what we are doing now. Biomarkers, we can go on a protocol basis. I think one thesis has been started that can be, and they need a very close follow-up with close stream for the first 2 years at least. So this may improve. If those having previously having liver disease known and they having failed addiction, they need to go through the first to the multidisciplinary approach before considering for the other parameters. So what I can say, thank you.